Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be looking at Mew VMAX Genesect for post-rotation. Now, a lot of people do not like Mew, and that is very understandable. It is a deck that has everything. It has access to everything you would ever want in a deck, pretty much. And whether you like Mew, whether you hate Mew, you have to know Mew. So we're going to look at what a list could potentially look like post-rotation. And honestly, this deck probably doesn't get any worse post-rotation. The only card it only really loses two cards, and that's Quick Ball and Rotophone. I mean, to be fair, those are two very, very important cards to the deck, but it's definitely workable, and you can definitely work around losing Rotophone and Quick Ball. If you had to choose one to not rotate, it would definitely be Quick Ball. This deck definitely wants Quick Ball more than Rotophone. But this deck just doesn't get any worse without Quick Ball, I don't think. It's still just as good. So we'll have to see how the dark types are going to be looking post-rotation. Because this deck will probably continue to be the best deck in the game until it rotates if there are no good dark types to keep it at bay. We are going to have Gengar post-rotation. We're going to still have the new Mighty Yena that will one-shot it for 0 energy. There are options that will keep this deck at bay, but it's still certainly a really, really good deck and one that you have to look out for and one that you have to know what a list could look like. So let's just get right into it, starting off, of course, with 3 new VMAX. With the Cross Fusion Strike attack, 2 colorless energy, choose one of your branch Fusion Strike attacks and uses this attack. So you have a bunch of different options. You go Psychic Leap on the Mew V to go back in the deck. You have Technoblast with Genesect to just do some straight, nice, solid damage. You have Meloetta that can potentially take 1 at KOs on some stuff. If you've been a Fusion Energy play, that can also attack on turn 1 of the game. You also have Oricorio. That is an attack that you want to go for that will put 5 damage counters anywhere you want. So there's a lot of options with the Cross Fusion Strike attack. And that is a main part of the deck. And to evolve into our Mew VMAX, we're running 4 copies of Mew V. And this is going to be the Fusion Strike Mew V, of course, with the Psychic Leap attack. They'll do 70 damage, shuffle back into the deck. So it's also a nice way to heal up your Mew VMAX as well as putting it back in the deck and doing some solid damage. Like with a couple Power Tablets, maybe a Choice Belt, and then you Psychic Leap back in the deck, you can set up some Technoblast KOs as well, which is nice. It does have free retreat. Both these Pokemon do have free retreat, which is super duper nice. Just to have that. And yeah, overall, these cards are just good. So 4-3 line, pretty standard. Now we're going to be looking at, of course, Genesect V, which we are going to be running 4 copies of Genesect V. And there's really no reason to not run 4. Genesect is broken. Potentially one of the best cards that we've ever seen ever. Super duper solid. So yeah, just 4 Genesect should really come as no surprise. Okay. We have 2 copies of Meloetta, of course. This is going to be, of course, have the great Melodious Echo attack that it will do 70 damage for each Fusion Strike energy in play. You can only have 4 Fusion Strike energy in your deck, of course. So this will max out at 280, which is some really solid damage, but also can attack turn 1 of the game with Elisa's Sparkle. Alright, now, of course, the 1 copy of Oricorio that can make our Fusion Strike Pokemon take 20 less damage attacks. Can be relevant in some matchups. Glycerin Droplets also not bad. And those are all the Pokemon. We have no Bumpkaboo, no Lumineon shenanigans, nothing like that. Just straight Fusion Strike Pokemon in our deck. And going into our supporter cards, of course, 3 copies of Boss's Orders. Which is pretty standard for the deck right now, and I think will continue to be standard. We might see some Mew VMAX lists dip in Boss to 1 or 2 Boss and play Cross Switchers and Peony maybe to kind of make up for the loss of Quick Ball and Rotophone, which are some really powerful consistency cards. But we're just going kind of standard 3 Boss. Now we have 2 copies of Lisa's Sparkle. This might seem kind of weird. And it definitely looks weird on the face of it, but it felt fine, because you're not going to be hitting the Melodious Echo as much as you would like to. You're not going to be hitting as much as you used to be able to. Now that you lose Quick Ball, you lose a lot of hand thinning and getting out those Genesects turn 1 potentially. You're really going to be relying on Battle VIP Pass a lot to get out your Genesects turn 1. So having one less supporter card that will potentially just sit in your hand and do nothing is going to be useful when you want to try and pull up these combos. It's also just searchable Crown Max. As you remember, in a Mew deck, you can potentially like dip on like maybe one copy less of maybe of like a two of. Like you could probably get away with like a single escape roper, maybe even a single switch in this list, just because you can Crymomatic for anything in your deck, which is always something you do have to remember. So if you do need this Alyssa, it's very easy to just Crymomatic for it. And if you flip tails on the Crymomatic, it's fine because that's two more cards to in from your hand to just draw with Genesect as well. Next for Ultra Ball, for Battle VIP Pass, for Fog Crystal, for Crymomatic, for Trekking Shoes, and for Power Tablet. We have a lot of 4-ofs. We have 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, and that's because we want to have the most consistent engine as possible. And all these item cards that will spin our hand or search our deck or draw us cards will be super duper useful for getting on our Pokemon, developing our board. But also, all these cards are literally just, for the most part, you can just play them with some little to no cost. Like Ultra Ball, the cost of discarding 2 doesn't really matter in this deck when you're just going to be drawing more Genesect. Sometimes, a lot of time, actually, you want to discard 2 cards. So that is, all these cards are really good, really good. The only card here you can't play at just any time is Battle VIP Pass, except you do have Cryomatics to discard those Battle VIP Passes, and as well as Ultra Ball to discard those, so that shouldn't be too much of an issue. Battle VIP Pass is just such a strong card that having them maybe clogging your hand is definitely worth being able to just set up your board with only 2 of them on turn 1. Trekking Shoes is a new card, and it's kind of like Acrobike, but it's a little bit worse. It says, look at the top card of your deck. You can either discard it and draw a card, or you can just put that card into your hand. So it's kind of like you get to like look at the card, and if you want it, then you can take it. But if you don't want it, you're just gonna like discard it and gamble. Hopefully, you get a better card. And this is, I think, is kind of definitely like a skillful card. Like, do you want to risk discarding a potentially useful card to get like maybe a better one or not? It's really gonna depend on the card that you draw off it, but it's definitely just like a good card to have 4 of. And at the worst, it just says draw 1 as well. Another card you can include that's kind of like Trekking Shoes is Gutsy Pickaxe, I think is what it's called. It says, look at the top card of your deck. If it's a fighting energy, attach it to one of your bench Pokemon. And then if it's not fighting energy, you just put it in your hand. So if you play no fighting energy, it's just draw 1 card. So it's like a Judge Whistle, which is not bad, I don't think, in Mew. It's just we can use the spots for other more useful things. Which is the main reason I think at least the main reason I'm not playing in this list specifically. Power Tablet, just a really good card in Fusion Strike, buffing your damage by 30 and letting you take 1 on knockouts is really good. Next, to Switch and to Escape Rope for the switch outs. Which again, this is standard in VMAX right now. Is it to switch to Escape Rope? Escape Rope is just really good turn 1. It's just a switch effect. If you go first, you can force a Pokemon that your opponent has on the bench that they don't want to get KO'd turn 1. If you go second and knock it out Meloetta, this is different uses. It's definitely a really solid card. Then we have 2 copies of Choice Belt as well, which will help us reach some VMAX numbers if we want to do that or need to do that. Stadium cards, we're playing 2 Old Cemetery and 1 Crystal Cave. There aren't really any other great stadiums to play. The best stadiums for Mew rotate, and that's Training Court and Rose Tower. You could play like a Latias and a Stormy Mountains if you want. It's just VMAXs aren't going to be like too prevalent post rotation. I don't think. I think that it's probably going to be like maybe Urshifu, Ice Rider, and Mew as like the best VMAXs post rotation, and the rest will probably just be the V stars like Arceus or Darkrai, stuff like that. Now Path decks are something that I think we really don't know about post rotation. I think that's something we'll have to wait to see how that all turns out, of how prevalent Path will be. So depending on how good Path is going to be post-rotation, you might want to run more or maybe even less stadiums, because let's be honest, stadiums, you don't really want to play stadiums in Mew. Sometimes if you just have the same stadium that you already have in play in hand, it's just a dead card and it feels kind of bad. So it just really sucks to have that other copy of the stadium in your hand. So if you didn't have to play Stadiums in Mew, you probably would, to be honest, just because it's always super annoying sometimes. But you do have to play them. I'm running 3. I think 3 is like a good starting point. So we wait and see how potion exchange is really gonna like go out. All right. Next, of course, are energy. 4 copies of Fusion Strike Energy, which is a main part of the deck that works with Meloetta, works with Lisa Sparkle. We are running 3 copies of Basic Psychic Energy, and then 1 double Turbo Energy. And that is going to be it for the Mew deck. Once again, you love it, you hate it. Mew is still a really good deck. You got to know what it looks like so you can know how to play against it. Know if you want to play the deck yourself. It's just always a good idea to have a grasp on the top decks. And this is just a first look at Mew. Quick Ball, I don't miss too much. I'm gonna like you would 100% play Quick Ball if it's in format, but it's not gonna like make Mew a dead deck by any means. It's just this deck is just so insane that you don't even need Quick Ball to make it work. Like that's just nuts. You don't even need probably one of the best consistency cards ever printed to make this deck work. But yeah, that's the video. If you guys liked it, don't forget to leave a like. If you guys want to see more videos like this, I'm doing a lot of post-fiction content lately. I've put out like a video like every day for the past like 3 or 4 days, which is, if you know my channel, that is very unusual for me. I don't usually do that. I've taken like a bunch of breaks recently, like month-long breaks, just because there haven't been many cards I've been motivated to do videos on, to be honest. But anyway, with Zorak, I'm probably motivated to do videos on that. But yeah, that's going to do it. Hope you guys liked it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.